Hey Leo, I'm Empress Rose and welcome to your reading. These are very general readings, so take what works, leave what doesn't. There'll be probably a couple different storylines going through here. It's like catching a wave. I might catch a wave, I might not catch a wave today. We'll see. So all these cards are pre-shuffled and prepared, and we're going to jump in with the Oracle of Mystical Moments deck. All right, what do we have for our lovely, amazing lions, Leos? Such great people. What do we got for Leos? Oh, 3. I can take 3. That's a nice happy medium here. Oh, I was just thinking about this card. We have a lot of blue here. A lot of balance. Look how they came out. Really balanced. We have the light and the dark. We have the light and the dark. We are talking about balance. Opposites. Opposites coming into balance. So we're going to start with the Liberty card here. This card is about freedom, being very close. You have a bird here. You have a message or a hope or a dream. Something that you've definitely been dreaming of that's about ready to fly. It's almost ready. You're enticing it out of the cage. There is some freedom that is very close to you. You're on a threshold. Actually, all 3 of these cards are threshold cards, or are talking about that threshold between 2 worlds. Right on the threshold. This bird's feet are on the threshold between prison and freedom. And you know, it has to be enticed out. This cage, this cage has become its home, and it's the freedom that feels a little unfamiliar to it. But there it is, on a liberty, a freedom that you've been dreaming of, and it might actually be a little bit scary. And then we have Mermaid's Love. This is probably my favorite love card in the deck, probably the best one. This is about opposites coming together. So this really talks to me actually about ideas of intellect and emotion. This is like a theme this week with everybody. Intellect and emotion. So we have the top hat, we have the bird, which is an idea or communication. The top hat, which in this deck represents intellectualism, and he's got wings on him, so he is part of a message. So his world is very intellect. It's very much the intellect, very much the thinking things through. He's got his pro-con list. He's got his spreadsheets. He's definitely very organized, very neat and orderly. He's got a very well-trimmed beard here. And he's a very neat, and who he's joined with is a mermaid. So obviously this is a deep emotional being or card. She's very comfortable with her emotions, with her feelings. Her hair is messy. His hair is neat and contained with a top hat. Hers is all over the place, all over her face. So this is someone who's very comfortable with messy emotions, and so if this is a real couple that we're talking about, where we come together, where opposites attract and where that's healthy is when both of them are happy with who they are and are not trying to find anyone to compensate for who they are. Like, oh, I don't tend to think things through. You'll do all the thinking through and you'll do all the feeling. This is an inevitable disaster because they're both coming from places of weakness and wanting the other one to add something to their life. But when they're both comfortable with their environment, and they both are, and they come together and they're both happy with who they are, then that is a really great union of opposites. So this Mermaid's Love card is about this union of opposites. So this could be 2 opposite people that need to come together in strength, not weakness, not wanting to borrow the other person's strength, but understanding that they've come complete in life and are able to bring and are a complete person in and of themselves and can manage things that way and are happy with who they are. So this card is about, if it's about 2 people coming together, it's about 2 people who are happy with who they are, who are content with who they are, then can be a strong, beautiful, complementary couple. not out of weakness or need, but out of strength and self-appreciation. But this can also be, this isn't necessarily two people, this is also two concepts, the intellect and the heart coming together in equal measure in a situation. The spreadsheet and the intuition coming together to make the best decisions possible, bringing those two things together. And then we have Miss Sunshine. So you were in a very dark place, requiring a lot of self-reflection, very dark, not seeing very clearly. You've had to intuit a lot, and then you've flipped the narrative, and now you're being called up into a lighter way of being, into a more hopeful way of being. And this darkness is still with you. It's still part of you. It's very much a little bit of this vibe. These two things that are in union. These are two sides. This is this bright side and this darker side, and they're in union together almost eternally, forever. And she's always going to be taking this dark house with her, this shadow self with her. So this is very important to become familiar and comfortable, especially comfortable with your shadow self. Not saying everything, all of your, darker corners and bad habits and all that are great, but just understanding that they're going to be with you. We all have our internal demons, and they're with us for life usually, like follow us around like Pigpen's little mess here. And we get good at working with them. You can, but you have to be comfortable with it first, and not run from them. So your inner demons. So this is talking about this darkness that she's always taking with her, but she is rising up to this lighter side. She's engaging with the lighter side. So this also has this freedom vibe with it of this threshold. So she's just flipped this, and now see these strings are, there's some nice strings up here too. These strings are pulling her up. So it's this sort of divine presence that we're not seeing up here that is pulling up, and she's got a grasp on that divinity, on that guidance from spirit that's pulling her into a better place. So, I mean, I just see a lot of threshold moments, a lot of unions of opposites, and getting comfortable and happy with being opposites, and some threshold moments of being able to move forward and sort of move from a darker place to a more hopeful place and finding better balance. So we're going to move now to the Moonology deck. It's a new deck for me. Well, not totally new, but it's pretty new. I'm still working with it. I'm having so much fun working with it, journaling about the different cards I pull each day and learning about them. It is pretty direct, and that's a little disconcerting for me, because this is such an intuitive process to have this really direct message come plop in the middle of it. It's something I'm trying to work with. I'm learning how to work with it. So, all right, Moonology, what do we got for our amazing, ridiculously awesome Leos? We have two. I don't usually get two. I've never actually gotten two with this deck, but we're going to take it and see what happens. We're rolling with it. Oh, I like this. You got two new moons. So you're at the beginning of a cycle. One is a cycle of ideas, and one is a cycle of emotions. So we're having this card. So you have new moon in Scorpio and new moon in Gemini. So two new beginnings here. And maybe that's why this is so repeated and repetitive here. But I am seeing this new beginning right here with you, this freedom beginning, this new beginning with this new light that you're heading up towards. And then I love this, that we were talking already about the intellect and the emotion, and this is what we've got. New moon in Gemini is about intellect, new moon in Scorpio is about emotion. So new moon in Scorpio is work through your fears. So you're starting on a new project, and you're on a new journey, a new emotional journey, and you're worried about getting hurt. You're worried about being surprised by pain in this thing. So this is really asking you to, I think this is exactly what this bird is doing right here. It's gotten really used to this cage, and it's somewhat afraid of the liberty and freedom it's going to experience afterwards. Because once it leaves here, a hawk can come down and get it. It could be shot out of the sky by, kids in target practice, or other people that are older and should know better. So you know, you do have some fears with this emotional new beginning that you're starting. It could be a love beginning, which we're sort of seeing right here. So you do have some fears about that journey, and it's asking you to kind of work with those, you know, explore them. You know, we're talking about the shadow self here, and this is exactly what this Scorpio, new moon in Scorpio, is talking about, is these darker parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we're afraid of, and we're afraid of looking at. It's asking you to look at those and look at what your fears are and make sure you're dealing with them, because you're heading to this really beautiful direction of light and freedom. And so you're heading in a great direction. So these fears need to be looked at very honestly and dealt with. A lot of times, you know, our fears are like, oh, I'd like to do that, but what if I'm never successful? Well, except what if you are? That's actually, you don't know. You just don't know. And so our fear is often of the unknown. And to solve that fear, we run to a conclusion. And sometimes it's a conclusion that that's never going to work, or it's a conclusion, you know, that it is going to be our wildest dream, which is, you know, happens, but we also have like a fear that it's not going to happen. So being honest with what your fears are, and dealing with them. And then communication is key. We have new moon in Gemini. So we're talking, we're communicating, you need to share some ideas. Whatever your ideas you're having, it's time to consider sharing them. And this is again an intellectual new journey and an emotional new journey, a new journey of ideas. It's really cool that those just came out, and we have the Mermaid's Love card there too. It's pretty damn cool. I love it. There's so much balance going on here, so much thresholding, so much new beginning, ending. I mean, we've got 2 new moons. We've got this Liberty card right on the threshold here, and then we've got these, wow, very beautifully repetitive. It feels really good when it's like that, because it's clear. Okay, now let's fuck it up with our Santa Muerte deck and get another message in here that might not be consistent with what we just got, but we'll just say, you know, whatever, we're rolling with it. All right, this is your past, your present, your inner landscape. What's at issue? Environment, to-do list, and possible outcome. Oh, yes, I can't believe this. The moon card came out, and we have the moon in this Liberty, so that this is referencing self-reflection that needs to happen. Okay, so in your recent past, you have a 10 of Pentacles. You have a situation that's outlived its usefulness, and it's time to move on. So the 10 is a completion of a cycle. It's not, the 9 is the fulfillment, and 10 is completion, time for a new cycle. So in your recent past, you realized that where you were living or working, or some part of your situation just literally isn't working for you anymore. It's used up. You've gotten everything you can out of it. The ground is now barren and needs to lie fallow for a long time, possibly till another lifetime. And these feet here on this butterfly remind me of the ground, the earth beneath your feet. And this is Pentacles, and so in this deck, this is a farming vibe. So this is the farm has been all used up, and you've got a treasure chest full of coin here. So you got something out of the situation, but it's time to move on. It's time to change some sort of real foundation in your life and move on. We have that with these feet. So it's the completion of a cycle. It's as good as it's going to be, and you've gotten everything you can out of it, and it's time to move on. In your present situation, we have the 5 of Pentacles, which in this deck is about moving forward step by step. So that's what you're doing. Another Pentacles card. A nice balance of cards here too. So, you know, we have this 10 of Pentacles. So this is about real life. This is about work, about money, about where we live. It's a very physical card. And then we have this sort of physically moving on step by step. You're taking step by steps in the direction I feel, and we have these feet here. So this has got to be the only 2 cards in this deck that references feet directly. Look at that. This is about feet, about steps, about taking steps into a new place, away from something old that's done, that's used up. Taking steps. I like this because that's what this little dove has to do, take a step. All right, in your inner landscape, Oh, nice. You are the Empress. You have everything you need and you're feeling it. She's single, by the way. And she has everything she needs. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be single, but it does mean that you'd be okay with it if that's what the situation's talking about. You've got everything you need internally. You've been wounded. Some things have been cut off prematurely, and you have sort of reminders of that, sort of premature death, a premature ending. Your heart has been wounded, but you have all the tools you need and you can bring them to the situation. And this is real Mother Earth vibe here. So, and then with these Earth Pentacles, so this is such a well-balanced reading. Oh my gosh, you've got water, earth, air, and fire here. The fire's kind of fucked up. We'll get to it though. So you're in your Empress vibe. Inside, you know you have what you need and you know you have what it takes to deal with the situation. So at issue is this Two of Wands. This is high conflict. This is, high conflict, very volatile situation. We take this in the reverse reading in the at issue thing. So the reverse reading is just like more conflict. So you're in a pretty high conflict situation. And that's causing problems here. Not trusting your own intuition, not trusting your own voice, not speaking out, not being able to talk about it, being very defensive. Somebody here is being extremely defensive. These are the only guns in the deck. The rest are swords. So this is like a very powerful, unsettled situation full of defensiveness and unclear, not being very good with words. I think this is why you're being called in to deal with this shadow self. This is probably the cycle that's ending and you're preparing for this new cycle. I'm hopeful that the at issue is just a lot of defensiveness, unsettled energy, volatile, extremely volatile, warring energy going on. In your environment, you have the Four of Swords, which is basically what we all have in our environment right now. We have the timeout card. So in your environment, you're taking, it's rest time. Your environment is about resting, taking a time out. And the purpose of this time out is to prepare for your next step. So this is I have a big day tomorrow, I better rest up card. So this is like, I have a big month next month, whether you know it or not. And right now you're being asked to rest up for what comes next. You've got, you're on a journey. We're all on a journey. You're definitely on some kind of journey here. And this is something in your environment is demanding that you rest up. This card, I don't take these cards in the reverse, but when this card does show in the reverse in decks where I do take it in the reverse, it is about like, if you don't rest up, there are very serious consequences coming and life is going to force you to rest up. So this is like, take this moment to rest up for the next steps, the next projects, some things come to completion. It's time to rest now and get ready for the next bit. Rest up for tomorrow morning or rest up for next month. Your to-do list, which is just so in line with what we were seeing with sort of the preliminary read, is the Moon card. So this is self-reflection, deep, deep, deep self-reflection. We have the Moon here. The Moon does not produce its own light. It only reflects the sun's light. So, and then we're not even seeing the Moon. We're seeing the Moon reflected in the water in the pond. And then the only fleshed character in this whole deck, is seeing her reflection in this pond right here. And she's seeing sort of the concept behind the whole Calavera and this whole deck, and the whole art movement, is that inside of us, we're all very similar. We're all the same. And so she's looking very deep inside her. Huge amounts of self-reflection. We even see the Moon here reflected in this cup. Oh, what's that? Huh. I don't know what that is. I think it's just her arm and her shoulders skeletalized. So yeah, she's seeing her whole skeleton here. And this pond is settled. It is very murky at the bottom, but you're being called to let things settle so you can reflect very clearly. So, so you can work through your fears. And so you can deal with this shadow self, with this darkness that we have, that we all have inside, and these ways that we kind of hurt ourselves and hurt others, and bring these maladaptive behaviors that we bring to the world. And we all have them, so there's nothing to be ashamed of there, you know, and we're all working with them and trying to learn from them and grow from them. So that's what this card is, self-reflection. And this self-reflection is going to change your situation from dark to light. It's going to flip this. Like, this was on top, this darkness was on top, and now it's been flipped, and she's heading up to the light. So that's what's going to happen with this self-reflection. And your possible outcome here is this Page of Cups. This is a new emotional journey. Look at this. Look at that. A new emotional journey. And your fears. And this is getting very curious. So this could actually, because this is a court card in this position, this could actually be someone in your life who's very curious about emotions, very curious. It's an emotional new beginning, and it could be with someone. Or it could just be a part of yourself you're discovering, this intense curiosity. So this self-reflection leads to this intense curiosity about your emotions. This is sort of my candy makers thing, you know, these very sweet emotions, and you're sitting there trying to determine if it's set right, if we've got the right temperature. You're very curious about these emotions. So that you're getting curious about these emotions, and that's where you need to head. It's a lot of curiosity about these fears, and about what it's going to be like once this threshold is crossed. And I mean, I can't deny this card. This is a union card. So this could be someone that is coming into your life, male or female, previously known. It could be a new cycle with someone in your life, of just someone who's very curious about emotions, exploring emotions, exploring it could be a new beginning, a new emotional beginning. We're seeing a lot of that. And also it could be a new relationship, or a new person in your life that is, or a new phase where you're very curious about emotions, and you're exploring them and looking at them and working to understand them. All right, Leo. Well, that was a cool reading. I really love a lot of that moon imagery that came up, and a lot of the consistency about just, you know, working with our darker, deeper selves, and that journey, and how it will just so it'll just flip us and help bring us closer to the light. So anyway, I hope you have a good journey this week. See ya.